Hi, pretty people. Welcome to the first episode of my new podcast, Autistic Alchemist. And I've had quite a journey leading up to this point of sitting in front of this camera, which over the course of the 16 episodes you're going to see, with 16 weeks left in the year, I'm going to do one episode per week, covering a range of different things that I've learned leading up to the ripe age of 27 that I am as a single woman who lives on her own and who does not drink alcohol or smoke weed anymore either, and no longer addicted to nicotine as well, and also has just discovered that she has been autistic her whole life. The signs have always been there. I just didn't have the awareness of them, so I was always very confused with myself and my identity, and had really just trouble understanding myself and why others couldn't understand me, and why I struggled in social settings and like communicating that properly, and why my advances of communicating with other people were not received in the way that I like wanted them to be. And I think that that's because I didn't realize like that I was on the spectrum, and being neurodivergent, I just think differently about things and about people, and sometimes I think a little bit too much. And basically what inspired this podcast is like ways in which I've changed the way that I lived, ways in which I've changed the way that I've lived that have really helped me discover, truly who I am, and that it's okay who I am, and it's okay to be myself and be in my own skin. And I love, being comfortable and wearing comfy clothes, and being in sometimes more controlled settings. And that's just what I'm learning, is finding the comfort within my own skin of myself. So this is a lot about me. I also used alcohol like pretty much my entire life up until about 25. I went sober for 6 months last year, and now I am 4 months sober, going on 5. And I've always used like alcohol as sort of a coping mechanism for masking, essentially, because masking is something I'm very good at, and that's why a lot of people, like, since me having this realization and everything, with discovering, being neurodivergent and on the spectrum, people are like, well, you don't look autistic, you don't act autistic, like, I'm masking love, like, I'm body doubling, I'm mirroring you, I've done it my whole life, and I've gotten very good at it, just watching and observing, which is also something that I have always done, is observe how other people interact, and didn't even realize that I was mentally taking notes, but just trying to understand like how they knew what to say, and how they knew how to react, and like just sort of be in certain social settings, like what was acceptable. And it was always so confusing for me growing up, and even like in early adulthood, like in my early 20s, like getting my first job in like an office, it was extremely shell-shocking, especially and I just like had the worst anxiety being in that type of setting without any of the realizations that I've sort of come to now. So yeah, that's what has inspired this. And today's topic that we're going to be discussing is about how aging doesn't have to suck. It's actually pretty cool. I'm really like grateful to be where I'm at 27 years old, and I wouldn't reverse or go back in time for anything, because I feel so much more comfortable in who I am now as a 27-year-old than, like a very scared and confused 16-year-old who was, drinking her problems away, drinking to fit in, to be cool, and trying to be everything that everybody else was, just be everything but herself, and just doing that my whole life. And now finally getting to this point, like obviously frontal lobe developed, yes, but getting to this point where I've realized like actually aging isn't so bad. It's nothing to be scared of. And if anything, it's given me the wisdom and like the knowledge of experiences to really know myself, which I feel like that's what life's all about, is like getting to know yourself, learning yourself. And the more that you know about yourself, the better of a life you can give to yourself. Because how can you live a life that you love if you don't even know what you want? And I think that that's what has really been impactful for me, is I know now what it is that I want from life, from knowing myself, putting myself into different experiences and situations that I normally probably would stray away from, and like, you know, stepping out of your comfort zone. And that's what I've had to do to understand myself. And then on top of that, it really is about giving yourself the grace and compassion to be like, I am these things. Like you are all of you. Like you're not just the good things. Like maybe you're late all the time, or maybe you suck at keeping a schedule or a routine, and you know that, and there's different things about you that make you you, and those are things that I'm learning that it's better just to own them than to like try and like push them down and act like they're not a part of you. And like the more that I've owned the things that I realize are maybe like considered not the best traits, the more that I've been able to bring awareness to them, and then like also like work on them and be better. Because in the past, like keeping a routine like was kind of very hard for me. Like when I don't have a routine, I'm a mess. So then like that's because I was very depressed and like drinking a lot. So keeping a routine was like bare minimum keeping me alive, like surviving. And so now keeping a routine, I've noticed, is the one thing, like especially with the way that I think, that helps me stay on track. Like I like waking up and doing the same things every day, but like a core system of things. Like I've created core values around what helps me function at my best, like to feel my best in my body and in my mind, and also doing things for my soul. And so that's why routine is so important for me, because when I don't have that, I feel like I have like nothing. Like what do I have if I'm not building or working towards something? And that's also something that I recognize as like, okay, you need to let yourself chill, and it's okay if you fall out of routine. So like I have like this hyper self-awareness within as well, and with age I'm like, okay, that's okay to have. Like I'm understanding that too. And as I've gotten older, my intuition has become much more distinct and easier to understand, but also through being still with myself and like meditating. I meditate every single day. I run every single day now. And I benefit a lot from movement, and exercise is like a core pillar for me. I have my pillars of making sure I take care of my mind, my body, and what I eat. And then also I love and doing something creative. So I'm doing those things every single day, as well as expressing gratitude for 5 things every day. And I think it's important to find your pillars in life. What are 5 of your pillars that you know are things that help you, like at least stay at a standard of a person that you are proud to be, that you feel like you don't always have to be working towards something, but that you're just making you feel good in your own skin. And those are things that do that for me, that I guess I didn't really, like I sort of knew before, like, but I didn't really know. I always like was like pretty active in high school, sort of fell off in college for various reasons. Alcohol and a bad relationship will do it. But so I was completely out of routine in college. That was my darkest years, but those years I wouldn't take back for anything, because now I have such great understanding of like the lessons I learned in that time and why routine is so important for me, why daily movement is important for my mental health, why what I eat is important for my mental health. Because for me, it all comes back to the chatter and the thoughts in my mind that I have. And when I'm not like conscious of them or monitoring them, and that doesn't mean like being over observant either, because that can be debilitating in itself, but thinking about like just being aware of the thoughts that are coming in and out of your brain on a regular basis. Like, how often am I saying to myself I can't do something? Like, how often is that reoccurring negative thought hitting my psyche? And when you start to see the pattern, like pattern recognition, which is a huge thing that I've had my entire life, which has also sort of caused me anxiety in some cases, which is also a big symptom of autism, which I did not know either. But it makes so much sense. Like, I have the ability to recognize these different patterns, not only in my way of thinking, but in other people and in my life. Like, when certain things, it's like I can see and like I can like feel the different strings of different events like connecting each other. Like, I'm like, oh, this is, and I can see cycles, and cycles sometimes freak me out. Like, when I do see a cycle, especially in my own life, it's because then I'm like, oh, am I stuck in a loop? And so that's like, sometimes that way of thinking can spiral me out when I do that with the pattern recognition. So that's something I'm working on. It's because I've been noticing it coming up a little bit more heavily recently, because I guess now with that sort of hyper awareness or of how I think and understanding myself, basically what I'm saying to all of you is, especially, you know, young women out there, women who are, you know, especially like, even if you're 16, but like 18 to early 20s, like early 20s especially, because we are spoon fed that like once you hit like over 25 that you're old. Honey, your life is just beginning, and actually it gets so much better, I'm telling you, because they say that the 20s are the best time of your life. And yes, you can make great experiences with great friends, but that's not like, it's not the experience for everyone. And how very much well was not the experience for me. And so it's also recognizing that everyone's having different experiences simultaneously. We all are, and they're all different, and there is that sort of, like, if you resonate with this, that you feel very confused in who you want to be and what you want to do, and you're in your early 20s, you're trying to figure that out, just what I would say is not focus so much on figuring it out, but sort of just letting yourself go and move towards things that you truly love and enjoy doing, and experiencing as much as you can, figuring out what you like and what you don't like, and then the lessons that you learn through the experiences. And even if things don't work out, or you have failures, or you make mistakes, like, do all of that in your early 20s. Just hit it hard. Hit it hard. Fuck shit up, okay? Because you're gonna enter your late 20s and then into your early 30s, and you're gonna have such a great understanding and a great sense of identity in what makes you you, what has made you you leading up to this point. And you're gonna feel so good and also so grateful that, yeah, maybe I was a little crazy, and even if you're not, but you're gonna be grateful that you tried for something, that you tried things, and that you did all of that in the name of getting to know yourself. And that's the greatest gift you can give yourself, is to do things to know yourself. Because if you don't know yourself, then how do you expect to connect with another deeply or get to know anybody else if you can't even build that connection within you? And that's a great lesson that I've been learning, and that's why I've really struggled to be vulnerable in friendships and relationships. Like, they can only get to a certain point, is because I didn't even know myself to that point. So how in the hell am I ever supposed to actually truly get to know somebody else in a way that doesn't involve me mirroring them or becoming them, which is something I would also do, is become whoever I dated, because I didn't have any sense of identity as well. And also just the coping mechanism of mirroring. But that's why it's so important to know who you are. And I don't mean that you need to know exactly who you are, because who you are is going to change every day, every year, every month, every season. You will be somebody different. A year ago, I was not in the same place. A season ago, I was not sober. I was not running every day. I was in a different spot, but I actively chose to make a change because I wanted to live a different life. So I had to make and choose different actions. You want to choose a different life for yourself, you have to choose different actions. And that's what I did for me, because I wanted it so badly. I didn't want to wake up feeling how I was feeling anymore. And also it was just over time strengthening that intuition within myself. So just know, if you are lost, it is okay. I think you're supposed to be lost right now. You're always going to be right where you're supposed to be, around who you're supposed to be around, learning exactly what you need to learn in order to grow. So a lot of the times I think it's about sort of surrendering to the current chapter that you're in and accepting it, which is I need to practice what I preach, which I actually have been for once, because usually I'm just like preaching lessons and not taking them. It's very typical of me, but I've sort of surrendered to where I am, because I love to run away and create fantasies in my head of how it could be different, or where I should live or move to. How can I escape where I'm at? Yeah, I love doing that. Not gonna lie, like I still do it sometimes, but that's why the pillars that I've created in my life and the gratitude that I have, that's what keeps me grounded in where I am and who I am currently. So know that you're ever changing, and you're ever growing, you're ever evolving, and that's the beauty that comes with age, is your evolution. There's nothing more beautiful than an evolution, and that's what you should look at aging as for you. Not that you're gonna get old and flabby and whatever. Okay, yes, like eventually that'll happen, but think of it as how much love that you'll have to have experienced, how much connections and genuine friendship you will have shared, places you will have gone, stories you can share with other people, your future kids or family, whatever. You will be so much more with age. You only can become more than with age. So that's what's so awesome about it. Your energy is going to keep growing and evolving and blooming year after year after year. You will bloom and die and be reborn and rebirthed again and again and again. And that's the best part about this whole experience, is the death and the rebirth process that you will have over the course of your life, because it won't just be once or twice. You're not just born and then that's who you are. No, you will keep dying and being reborn every single time, and every time that you are reborn, you are becoming a better, more real, authentic version of you. And that's just, to me, the best gift that one could have, is just to be more of yourself. And then when you're more of yourself, you can give more of yourself to others, and connect more deeply, love more deeply, experience more fully. And what more could you ask for in an experience like this? So with that, that's all that I have for today's first episode of Autistic Alchemist. I'm really excited for where this could take me. I hope to have some friends on. I plan to have some friends on as guests. I don't want to say hope. I plan to. I do find comfort in solitude and talking to myself, but I am getting better. The more that I feel like myself, the more that I can be myself around others. And so if you are still here watching up to this point, just know that I appreciate you. And I would appreciate a subscribe and follow if you really did resonate with anything that I said today. And also, if you could just drop a comment below, because I'm curious, especially like if you did watch this, like what are some, like, what's your story? Did you just discover that maybe you were autistic, and were the signs always there for you, and like what were key signs in your experience, things that you did, or like habits or tendencies that you had that you didn't know were actually like being on the spectrum or being neurodivergent, like you didn't realize that was a coping mechanism for masking. Like, what did that look like for you? Because I would love to start building a community, and a community where we can sort of all, relate and share experiences, which is really what this whole podcast is about, is creating a community, especially with women who are discovering themselves on a journey of self-discovery and understanding, and creating a comfortable healing, feminine energy, intuitive, safe space to really just sort of open up and allow ourselves to be the flowers that we truly are, and to bloom and die time and time again. So yeah, drop a comment below, like if you liked, subscribe if you really liked, and I will see you next week. Bye.